Okay, so this is the first session of our Saturday campaign, the Shaded City. So, kind of like our Monday campaign, to kind of set the stage for the upcoming campaign, I'll begin with a little something, and then we'll jump right into the story. So, we begin our story in Krasni, the Shaded City. A labyrinthine city crawling its way up the face of the cliffs of Karth. At the top and within the mountain, the elite and richest of the citizens make their home. Below them, a sprawling network of paths, alcoves, private cranes, and what looks to be interconnected scaffolding, all used to climb ever higher. At its base, the foundation atop which all of this is built, a massive ringed city with connecting harbor and multiple stone walls cutting the city into separate zones. All of this blanketed over by the many sails that give Krasni its nickname. Down here, however, you are within the shaded slums. Those more hopeful of the High King's intentions think its sails and shades are meant to provide respite against the heat of the day, while others view them as a way for the elite to cover up their biggest shame, casting those down and away from sight and memory. Run by a despot, the culture of Krasni is quite strange. Even the poorest find pride in not being them. Who are they? Anybody but the people they perceive as their own. This balance of purity and the need for structure between those who have and those who have not creates a city-state of fervent dedication to those in charge. And so, why have these strangers come to such a place? Why do those who have escaped return? I think this is a solid place to begin. So let me get some music going, and we shall set our story off. Alright, so I pre-rolled this. Don't have to do it live. We can jump right into who's up first. So, as you stand on one of these alcoves, almost like a balcony, it's enough of a guard to stop you from falling over, but a simple push would easily topple you down far below to the bottom of the city. You stand here, the day kind of slowly turning to night. The sunset over the harbor, just kind of, for a city this rough, at least at its base, up here in the space is quite fascinating, right? Quite an opportunity to really take in the sight and beauty of the land before you. So, as you kind of stand here, contemplating a few moments, Keel, if you could, both introduce yourself as well as your character, describe how they look, who they are, etc.
Yes, I'm playing Keel. He is, in Pathfinder terms, a Strix. In Ekros terms, veil touched. So he's a dark, gray-skinned humanoid with great big wings and white hair.
Okay.
He's a swashbuckler class.
Nice. All right. So as you kind of stand here, taking in this moment of clarity in view, only moments prior having been given information that, for the most part, probably would have rattled your sensibility, right? Faced with your past, put to paper, your employer themselves kind of holding docket in hand, kind of presenting it to you, and the situation that you now kind of find yourself. Behind you, there's an opening into a large kind of in cave office space. The familiar, say like state's room almost of your employer, Darius, the cousin of the High King. As you kind of take a breath, kind of a moment to kind of gather your thoughts, you'll hear from behind you the familiar voice of Darius just kind of asking out towards you from inside. So you understand the tough position this puts me in. And he just kind of stands there holding the docket in hand, kind of waiting for you to turn and resume the conversation.
Keel kind of turns and gives a nod. It's like, I do.
Kind of thinks it over for a second, holds on to it, and then kind of sets it down on his desk and puts a finger down, kind of pointing at it. To think that I was harboring an aristocrat, I suppose you would call yourself a noble of a foreign land. There are rules against this in Krasni. There are rules on how to perceive as such, even with my employment. I have not gone about things the right way, and this might be, some would say, an intentional deception on your part. He kind of crosses his arms. Darius is like a big, kind of like a big man, not necessarily muscular, right? But very wide in the shoulders, kind of, certainly not small around the middle. Even the looser clothing still kind of fits a bit tight just there, kind of giving way to this larger kind of frame. So it kind of...
Dukan is... yeah.
Go ahead.
Dukan is in ashes, as are any merits to that title. As far as I'm concerned, you could consider it irrelevant.
Yes, but you present yourself as a simple translator. And yet these papers say something much different. Have I been employing you incorrectly?
Well, that's up to you to decide.
Kind of thinks for a
I wouldn't
moment.
believe it to be a lie. I would...
Very tough position put me in. I do have to think about this. For now, we will move past it, but I need you to do me a favor, if you could. Well, I'm telling you to do something for me, actually. Fetch the
I have no intention.
gray-skinned one. I have need of his counsel in this moment.
Absolutely. He'll kind of go past him, I suppose.
Yeah. As you go past, he will reach out.
It's like
and
a curse, but there is hope for you yet.
He will reach out, and place his large palm on your shoulder. This kind of, Darius has never really put his hands on you, ever, right? He's always kind of, even in, positive, like kind of jovial moments where, when you've helped him seal a foreign deal of sorts, right, between trade and such. He's never, given you like a slap on the back or anything like that. So this comes out of a bit left field as he kind of like reaches out with his right palm as you walk past and kind of, holds your shoulder for but a moment. And as he does so, you kind of pull away. I will consider this information in your absence, but we have much to discuss.
Be back in a moment.
make your way out and start to follow the familiar path, looking for the grayskin one as requested. So, while that's happening, walking through the city at its very base, the many sails of which kind of covering and shading. Down here, I mean, despite the light of the day and the sun and its intensity over time, as you walk through, it is almost dark. You know, there's so much shade and so much cover overhead that, I mean, it even coming in from the light kind of took your eyes a moment to really kind of adjust to what you were seeing. So as you kind of first arrive in the shaded city, Esther, if you could introduce yourself as well as your character, what they look like, who they are, etc., etc.
Hello, I'm Rose. I've played a few games here already, and today I am playing as Esther. So from a little distance, I suppose you would, looking at her, first and foremost notice a very, very an almost giant brown leather coat. Right, it looks like it belongs, judging its size, to somebody, maybe an orc who might have been more than 2 meters tall.
Mm-hmm.
Under that cloak, you would, for a very short distance, see some small legs sticking out. As in total, this figure wouldn't stand very tall at all. And above this coat, sticking out is a little head with blonde hair, and once again an equally massive flower crown on top of that.
Okay.
She's probably moving through the city rather swiftly, looking for something specific. And the last point I forgot. Yes, she speaks. She's got a Dukanese accent when she's speaking, which I believe would be obviously fake to anyone who is actually from Dukan or lived there a long time. But to anyone else, it might be rather splendid sounding.
Fair enough.
Or genuine, yes.
Nice. So, seeing as how you have your eyes out, looking for something, if you could, first roll of this campaign, please roll me a perception check. Look around, see what you may see in the many streets.
Here it comes. Perhaps even taking a deep inhale to try and sense something floral or herbal sound air smelling.
Fair enough. 22 total. As you look through the crowded streets, Krasni, nothing in particular for the immediate moment there, as you kind of like your eyes kind of dart back and forth as you're just kind of looking for this or that, making your way kind of through the crowd. You are vigilant enough that should somebody make any attempts on your person, right, you're kind of reaching in, you seem to have a bit of a grasp on your personal space right now. Right? So even though you're moving through this crowd, you are well equipped to ensure that nothing is lifted from your person. So as your eyes kind of dart back and forth between the various stands and almost like open shops that kind of line the various streets down here, one thing that does catch your eye in particular is a small group of individuals who are kind of bullying their way through the crowd. There's a very large, basically about around the size of a person that would kind of wear, the coat that you're wearing, but roughly over 2 meters. Long blonde hair, very wide. Next to him are a few other individuals, one that kind of catches your eyes, a shorter looking one, with kind of like a scowl on his face, long black hair. And for a moment, Master, you think you may have seen this face before, but you haven't, thankfully. But behind them walks this massive wolf, as if commanded, right? As if owned by, particularly the person you see kind of controlling this wolf, is the man with long black hair, and he is holding basically this leash of sorts, right? Kind of guiding this kind of massive hound that scares people as they walk past.
Mm-hmm.
And they're approaching you currently.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, that's wonderful. So her face would kind of light up a little upon seeing the wolf, right? Paying very little attention to the man beyond, shortly gazing upon the one with the long black hair. And I would attempt to approach the wolf, starting to shuffle through my rations, trying to find something that I believe would entertain or, well, make this wolf happy. Because I do intend on giving it a little treat and trying to pet it, of course.
Okay. So you approach, reaching through your satchel, kind of grabbing some sort of ration. You find one, easily enough, something you feel, a piece of, at this point, maybe like dehydrated meat or some sorts. And as you approach, the large blonde one in particular, is wielding this incredibly large sword. Just starts to lift it from its sheath. But the one with the long black hair kind of like makes this quick sound, and they stop. And the one with the black hair will kind of guide the wolf over towards you. I should say that if you were, to describe the size of this wolf, you were unlucky. You could potentially lose an arm in like a swift bite. This is how big this wolf is, right? Almost like the size of a horse, potentially.
Oh dear.
So, but the wolf kind of moves over towards you. And seems to be trained well.
I mean, before I really reach out to it, of course, she would try to kind of read the wolf. If it does it look ready to actually pounce on her, or is it not upset by her coming closer?
It looks like it's tolerating your presence, and only because of the one holding the leash.
Oh, okay. Then I wouldn't push that any further. No. Perhaps I would. Could I turn to the man with the long black hair?
Mm-hmm. Kind of gives you like a once over, but it seems like he reads your intentions, as far as what you intended to do with the wolf. So it doesn't seem like he was all too concerned with you feeding the wolf.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of looks at you, kind of waiting for you to say something.
She would do a very small curtsy and then proceed I'm good day to you. I'm Esther. Would it be perhaps allowed for me to pet the dog? It's like a really bright, wide smile on her face.
He will kind of nod and kind of motion the wolf, motion the wolf, like pulling on the leash a bit, giving you the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. So she would go ahead to really give it a good rub underneath its chin and down the neck. So, what's this one called, huh?
It kind of looks around. The guy with the long black hair will kind of look over his shoulder. And one thing you notice now that you're kind of up close with them, they are all wearing clothing that clearly depicts that they're not from this region, right? I'm gonna say, as far as your, I'm gonna say the last time you saw a person wearing clothing like this, is, kind of not a distant memory, but been Keel. Right? This is certainly kind of the
Oh.
Dukanese flair clothing. The one with the long black hair has kind of like an entirely different style going for them. At first glance, I mean, it's unfamiliar to you, and you've been quite a ways around Ekros, but he kind of he'll look back at one of them, who will kind of give him a smirk, and then he'll look back at you. Chani.
Oh God, could you say that again, please?
Chani, I can write it too.
Chani, all right, thank you.
Yeah, Chani.
Oh, what a beautiful name for such a majestic creature. And it's wonderful.
You do not seem as though you are of these lands.
Oh no, I am a traveler from far away. Dukan, actually. It's such a beautiful city back home.
Mm-hmm. He kind of looks to the blonde one. The blonde one looks down at you. Well, enjoy your travels.
Thank you so much, and the same for you, yes? And do remain safe. And then I shall continue down my path.
All right. You'll turn, pull at the leash, and yeah, we'll continue on. So. All right. Up next. As you walk into a familiar, let's say, probably like a tavern of sorts down here in the shaded slums. As soon as you walk in, the familiar face of the owner, kind of, bartender, looks over at you and gives you a familiar kind of nod and kind of looks towards up close to a spot that you find yourself often. I'm not sure. You can decide. The faces of the few individuals inside, sullen, kind of hunched over whatever drink they're nursing at the moment. Avis, if you could please introduce yourself as well as the character you're playing, what they look like, etc., etc.
Sure thing. I'm Zen, new to Ekros, new to Pathfinder as a whole. Very happy to be here. As for Avis, she's Krasnian, human, with dark skin, long braided hair, and currently probably wearing just a tunic, breeches, and under her short sleeves there's markings visible on her skin. I think she's kind of waiting for the evening, waiting for the tavern to fill. She's probably had some sort of deal with the tavern keeper for accommodation.
Yeah, absolutely. The stage is kind of set for you, should you wish to kind of start a bit early, but if not, perfectly fine. Yeah, there's, we'll say like a handful, we'll say 5 to 6, we'll say 6 individuals kind of sitting, one of them kind of tucked away in a corner, doing their best, their best, hiding in the shadows, impersonation of sorts. As you kind of look around, you do have on you the instrument in which you, make your, I don't know how to say it. The instrument of your, of your choosing, of your, that you play. So as you kind of look around the small tavern, you know that shortly enough, it'll start to fill in with the workers, those stuck in the more industrious, mines at the within the shaded slum. Right, this is the class of people that are, forced to labor for intense hours every day Some of the individuals that are actually sitting already look like they came directly from the mine. They didn't clean up or anything. So some of them are covered in this darkened kind of soot that just kind of hangs on them. Those, you know, who are lucky enough, you could say, to strike into Brightstone, almost have like a glitter kind of overlaid them from where they've, you know, struck into the stone, and had it kind of just chip off into various parts of their clothing.
I think she's probably gonna spend a good half hour or so just chatting to the patrons, seeing how their day has been. Maybe keep an eye on the hooded figure in the corner, see if they're interested in a conversation at all.
Definitely not. As far as interested in conversation, when you kind of try to make your way over, you know, they essentially brush you off. They'll turn their face kind of away from you, you know, indicating that they want to be left alone. However, the other, you know, patrons that are still there will certainly kind of, take you up on conversation. You know, it's the same kind of wearied, struggling.
It's probably
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
story every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Right,
I think
yeah.
she's still making an effort to ask them every day.
Yeah, and
Because
these are
sometimes
familiar
you just need
faces too. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just need to complain.
indeed.
I think she'll at some point get up on stage and start telling a story about probably some sort of Krasnian folk hero from the worker class.
Fair enough. If you could, give me a performance check. So to be clear on this, this performance check isn't going to necessarily, be how good you play. So, you know, it's not, if you roll like a natural one, it's not going to be that you just like totally, you know, look like an idiot on stage, right? So there is a certain level of, obviously you have a level of competence about you that's just not going to, you know, suddenly disappear out of nowhere. But it will kind of decide a few other things. So if you could. Yeah.
Alright. 26.
26, absolutely. And as you kind of imagine, I guess you could say, this creating this tale of this Krasnik folk hero of sorts, you know, who mined Brightstone or what have you. It certainly seems like it lifts the spirits of those in attendance. Even the one who had kind of previously brushed you off, kind of lifts their head. You still can't see their features, right? They're kind of just sunken in this darker spot in the room. But where they had previously kind of brushed you past, they now have kind of taken full notice of you, and they're listening along, kind of drinking, and through the performance, and as well as, you know, anyone that kind of follows up shortly after, more and more patrons will start to make their way in. As the tavern starts to fill in, this is certainly not like the most lively of taverns as far as how raucous the individuals will get, but it's definitely lively in the sense that it does get packed on the interior. You know, a lot of workers come here, especially for, you know, after work, after, you know, food, drink, what have you. So as you play, the room, you know, quickly starts to fill in. Tables that were bare are now full with, you know, a full grouping of workers all sitting around, you know, having conversation, listening to the music. And even the individual in the back of the room has been joined by a few others who kind of taken refuge in the darker location of the tavern. So, as you play, things continue on, and occasionally, despite not having much to themselves, a few will approach and drop what little they can in whatever sort of collection you may have, as far as tips and thank yous for the performance. So
She'll thank them by name if she can, if they're regulars of sorts.
oh yeah, nice. Yeah, I will say for sure you've seen these faces so many times now that it's all familiar to you. So and yeah, that'll kind of lighten them up as well. Anytime one of them gets mentioned by name, there's like an appreciation to the kind of caring what their name is in the first place. So as you are sitting in you'd probably have some sort of accommodation bought and paid for you at this point. Or maybe it feels that way simply because of how much they may have been paying you so far. But as you sit, there's a sudden knock at the door. Whether or not this startles you, scares you, or what have you, is yours to decide. If you could, Lucky Terra, we'll say Lucky. If you could introduce yourself, who you're playing, and your reaction to this moment.
I'm Matt. I'm playing Lucky Terrace. That's how it's pronounced. Or like you said, Lucky is fine. He is like Keel, a veil touched, but in Pathfinder terms, he's a fetchling. He's got very, very pale skin, almost like completely devoid of color, which makes it appear kind of gray. And his hair is equally as like white, no color to it. He kind of embraces that by wearing all white with accents of gold that match his eyes, which are very large and owl-like. I don't think he gets many knocks on the door except for one reason. And so he's kind of expecting, someone to take him where he needs to go at the other side of the door. So I go over and open the door without a moment's notice.
Yeah, absolutely. As you swing open the door, this is as you said, very, very rare is it for someone to show up, here, calling for you particularly. So as you kind of swing open the door, there is Keel, having made the trek down from up high to fetch you from the shaded slum.
Yeah, and so at first what looks like maybe like a forced jovial smile as I swing open the door, kind of expecting someone, and in my Krasni, in the Krasni language, I'll say, "Greetings," and then as I see it's Keel, the jovial smirk will kind of drop, not to a frown, but just to a kind of more, normal, less forced face, and then I'll switch to Losian, since Lucky is from Helos, so he doesn't speak a lot of Krasni. And I'll say, "Oh, so we brought you today?"
Darius requests your presence.
Obviously.
One thing I will say is this is probably the first time you've ever had to be the one doing the kill.
Yeah, and I also Keel doesn't talk to Lucky very much, much either.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. So, with that, you head on out, start to make your way back.
that's all Keel says, and he just does completely
It's
neutral
a very
expression.
quiet.
Yeah.
Turns around, expecting you to follow him with no other words.
Yeah, I'll just kind of sigh, and just follow you.
Fair enough. So, make your exit and start to make your way back through the mini streets and up, towards the towards the rich of the elite. Like you've had a number of interactions with Daesh at this point. Totally and utterly kind of convinced by your ability, your propaganda, I guess you could say. It is quite lucky to have found someone of their status, kind of willing to support your venture so far in Krasni. So, as you kind of follow Keel back towards that direction, if you could please, if you are not looking to interact with Keel, mostly just kind of two of you are just basically following each other along, or rather, you're just following Keel, and there's a real kind of coldness and quiet between the two of you. If you both could then roll perception, but if you're going to talk, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably wouldn't respond that much, but Lucky would just kind of try and prod at Keel by trying to get him to engage.
Fair enough.
Perception, you said?
Mm-hmm. Same for Keel.
17.
Okay. 10. Okay. So, 17. Yeah, you kind of poke and prod, right? You're looking to draw a response from. That there's not maybe there's not a lot of warmth between the two of you. You also don't interact very often. And the few times that you do, would say so far probably have been pretty cold from Keel's side, right? I don't think Keel has made it an effort to kind of cover up their,
Yeah, I mean, he's been professional, but that's,
yeah,
it.
fair enough. So, as you are traveling along, for Lucky, you 17. As you're walking along, for a moment you're kind of more focused on kind of this poking and prodding, right? More of this kind of play back and forth between you and Keel, or rather, more for you in the direction of Keel, right? You're not necessarily walking where. You're not really watching where you're going, as much as you're just making sure you're following Keel. And so, as you like in this moment of minorly unfocused, more focused on the conversation than where you're going, you will walk into somebody. You will bump shoulders with them, pretty roughly. They kind of spin in the moment and will kind of turn, unable to keep their balance. They will fall down onto their butt, but catch themselves with their arms behind them, and look up at you. And it is very clear by their clothing that this is not somebody greatly important, but this is somebody important enough to feel important. Some lower middle kind of lower middle class of the Krasnik kind of people. So as they land, there's like a look of startlement and then a look of recognition. But with that, I mean, the recognition is a pure kind of hatred almost, right? And they will kind of spit at you, like towards your feet, as they kind of push themselves up to their feet really quick. kind of standing back up straight. And they will lean forward, and they're kind of shouting towards you, like how dare you, not watch where you're going? How dare you bump shoulders with me? And they will say vile blood as they kind of step forward. And they're kind of getting in your face aggressively, like looking to kind of pick a fight with you, especially, like they're just right in your face. They're not touching you directly, but they're so close, like, you can smell their breath. It doesn't smell good, right? They're invading much of your personal space to kind of hurl these insults towards you.
It's a guy?
Yeah, sorry, it's a guy. Yeah, and again, just enough to feel important, but they're not really important at all. So, as far as their actual standing in Krasni, probably not very high, but they feel
definitely higher than me.
well, arguably maybe not, considering who your employer is. But
Okay.
in this moment, at least to the people around, a Veil Blood or Veil Touched and somebody of this status, I mean, it certainly looks like you have overstepped.
Mm-hmm.
So
in my Kilos tongue, which I'm assuming he won't understand, I'll begin to kind of say my speech, where I'm basically like, oh, I'm so sorry, but this is quite fortuitous, and I'm kind of looking at Keel to translate. So I'm forcing Keel into this situation as well, and I'm saying, oh, I'm sorry, but this is actually quite your lucky day, for my name is Lucky Terrace, but you may call me Lucky. And you see, I am a teller of fortunes and a seer of futures. And perhaps for this small transgression, I could offer you something in payment of my blunder. And again, I'm looking over to Keel. I'm saying, translate.
Keel has this look on his face, like, all right. And he just walks up and he looks at the guys and goes, sorry. Grabs Lucky's shoulder and is like, let's go.
the guy is so perplexed by the singular apology, right? Like, sorry, and then you gotta grab and kind of turn. This guy's just standing there, like he wants you to engage in this fight, but when you kind of immediately just go sorry and turn your back to him and start to walk off, he doesn't know what to say. He's like he starts to kind of like grasp at air, like he's trying to figure out some way to keep this going. But I mean, you're sorry, your initial, just the turn and the pace at which you're walking away, he kind of looks around like, bewildered at this moment. And there's a very audible, like spitting sound from behind. It doesn't land on either of you, thankfully, but there's this, you can tell almost like a child that this person just did it loud enough that you would know that he spit in your direction as you walked away. And yeah, you continue forward.
And Keel kind of completely ignores it and just looks at Lucky and is like, don't have time for games today.
But he
Got
could have
some-
paid so well.
You just get a look of silence.
Yeah. And this
Keel does seem unusually strained.
Yeah.
Throughout this conversation.
Fair enough. And speaking of, past, kind of coming back, being faced with it, this commotion has drawn the view of somebody, Esther. You see this happen, this whole event, this person bewildered, and you see, for a moment, you've had these flashes already this day, right? Seeing a figure that for a moment kind of took your breath. I don't know, however Esther might have reacted in that moment. But now to see, and I mean, maybe it takes you a second, you kind of wipe your eyes, but this is Keel.
Oh dear. So
Longer hair tied back in a ponytail.
Yeah.
different clothes completely, but
Scarcely
Not
able
very.
to believe it. I would just begin to follow them quietly for now, like very discreetly, because she still doesn't want to potentially embarrass herself after a situation like the one before.
Fair enough. Go ahead and roll a stealth. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, it'll just be against their perceived or their perception currently. So
I mean, Esther
that-
really does stand out, especially in this city, right?
yeah. So the highest you're looking to beat a 17, and you'll ideally go unnoticed in this moment at least. And watch.
Oh,
you
dear.
roll exactly 7. So yeah. As Lucky and Keel continue on, right? You know, having kind of this conversation. You know, this person spitting in their direction. You want to take your time. You know, you want to be sure that this is Keel. This is the person. You know, you're looking right at him, but not wanting to embarrass yourself. Absolutely. So you start to kind of sneak along behind him. Kind of dipping and dodging, you know. To what extent, I guess, is Esther like? Is this like full on? Like you'll if they stop and talk for a moment, you'll like jump into an alley and press your back to it, or are you just kind of like
No.
casually, kind of just making sure that you're blending with the crowd more than anything?
Yeah, definitely the latter. It's
Okay.
if they notice her, she wouldn't jump away.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, you you follow along behind. And that continues for, we'll see. Last but not least, having sat waiting for an audience with this, I mean, at least for you, you're roughly from around here. You've spent enough time here that you are, at least at the very least, probably respectful of the structure. So, sitting outside the office of the head of the Krasni Smelters Union, or colloquially known amongst you and the type and the miners as well as the Crucible. I've been sitting here for some time, much longer than you had hoped, but when dealing with these types, it's very rare that anything is of a timely fashion, depending, on the whim and their import. So if you could, annoyingly, having sat here for too long, to the point that it's really starting to test your patience, but knowing you really can't leave, Obadiah, if you could introduce yourself, your character, and all that good stuff.
Yep. So, Obadiah's a male dwarf. He's taller than the average dwarf, but still under 5 foot. He wears a large leather coat, which is seems to be well worn. He's probably smoking his pipe right now to try and bring his nerves down from waiting too long. So something that you notice immediately is that he's bald and has what looks to be writing scarred into his scalp, which would be very obvious for anyone taller than him. But yeah.
Looking down. So as you sit here, what you do know about this person, this is your first time meeting them, but because of a recent incident that you've had, right, kind of, as you were at work, right, the we'll say collapse of sorts, or breaking through to a new area, the events that, as it's said before, that happened from it, you being one of the few to have returned from this encounter. You know that the person you're about to speak to is very superstitious, right? Very interested in all of these minor details, these strange happenings and sorts, so you know what you're in for. And I guess that's part of the annoyance, is that you're just kind of just left to wait, you know. So as you kind of scratch at the pipe, right, and kind of, you know, you're free to smoke if you would wish, right? There's nothing stopping you from lighting the pipe up as you wait. So, do you fully like begin to smoke?
Yeah, he lights up, but expecting to stash it away once he's called it.
Okay, so you're doing it like a little bit in secret.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Kind of leaned over, you know, taking quick. Fair enough. Okay. And yeah, it had been, you know, probably something like an hour since the winged one had kind of left the office, kind of immediately kind of paced out without giving you second notice or mention or anything along those lines. So as you wait, the door will open and out will step. You know, you've probably seen them before, although having never interacted. Out steps Darius, who is kind of steps out of his office, kind of looks around, almost like he didn't expect anybody to be out here. As he kind of sees you, like it kind of startles him for a moment. Like, kind of jumps, and then like realizes where he is and who, like, you know, who he is to who you are, right? So that immediate kind of assertion of power, of, you know, kind of like returns to, and he looks at you confused, and his brow kind of furrows up. Who are you?
So Obadiah would like hurriedly put his pipe away and stand to attention. Yes, I'm Obadiah. You requested my presence?
It's like he's confused for a moment. What's your presence? Why?
I believe you wanted to talk to me.
About what? And he kind of like sharply asks, you know. Looks like he has no idea who you are or why you're here.
I can only assume that someone such as yourself would be interested in my latest escapade. And I sort of like weirdly nod towards my scar.
Okay. Kind of draw attention to the scar
Yeah.
on your head. It takes him a moment, and then, right, it hits him. And he kind of pushes open the door wider, and he kind of steps out into the hall. Yes, wow, okay. Yes, please, come on in. Right. I'm so sorry about that. I did not mean to offend you. You know how it is. Many meetings, so many faces you see every day. Things just kind of get crowded, and, you know, the memory kind of goes at some point, right? So, but yes, please, make yourself comfortable. Come on inside. And he kind of, you know, he'll kind of reach out and like essentially kind of pull you into the to the office, and kind of quickly kind of close the door behind. On the interior of this office, beyond the kind of opening out that gives like a very nice view over the harbor. Even where you stand, you know, you can see the you know, the sun is at this point probably we're getting into the early stages of the evening, right? So you know, the last little bit of light kind of shines just over the harbor before the sun fully disappears down. And so as you kind of make your way in, he'll quickly kind of go around, and he'll actually start himself, which is a bit of a strange thing. He'll start lighting you know, candles, and just enveloping this room with light, as the last little bit of sun has now kind of reach beyond the horizon, and shortly it's going to get dark. So he will kind of motion with his hand towards a chair much too large for you, but it's probably the only one available in front of his desk. He'll kind of like, please take a seat. I saw you smoking. Feel free. I myself will actually. I'll partake with you. And he'll kind of quickly, after he's finished lighting up the various lights, he'll kind of sit down in his very high-backed, wide chair. That almost as you sit down, I mean, even if you were of the appropriate height, you would still not be eye to eye. It's almost like this chair is higher up on purpose to kind of give him like a looming feeling from across the desk, like he's sitting higher and looking down at you. And he will immediately kind of start digging around for a pipe as well. So, do you start smoking or anything like that, Obi?
No, not for the moment. I'm not. He's not quite comfortable yet, but he climbs into the chair about as gracefully as he can.
Okay. So as he kind of clears his pipe and like immediately packs it with, a tobacco of sorts that's just very fine. He'll immediately kind of start to smoke and looking across excitedly the desk towards you. So tell me, what did you see? What happened?
Rather unfortunately, I don't remember a thing. Yeah, I awoke the next day. And my memory of the day before was missing. It wasn't until the day after that someone actually pointed out this scar to me. I didn't realize it for that whole time.
Yeah, as you kind of got this like this looser attitude, right? Like chuckling, like I didn't realize it. You can see the energy from Darius has immediately turned extremely cold, right? He's kind of squinting his eyes at you, like he had immediately kind of started drawing from the tobacco from the pipe, but now he just kind of takes it and just sets it down kind of sharply. Surely you must remember something, maybe even moments leading up to it, right? Something.
I'm not one of those I'm not all that superstitious, but yeah, the last thing I remember is with my crew, the miners showed us the opening that they'd found, and that is where my memories end. Yeah, I'm just as interested as you as in finding out what happened to me, but yeah.
He if you look in the Discord, he very clearly, right, he kind of sets down the pipe, but he kind of like rubs his temple, right, like in annoyance. He kind of closes his eyes and kind of just shakes his head. Great. Nothing interesting to tell me. And you have wasted so much of my time sitting out in my hall all day long. Well. And now, and it's almost like he's finding things to be insulted by now. And now you expect me to answer the questions for you. The questions that you should have the answers for. I have to solve that now. He just kind of shakes his head. You know, he's very angry, but he's doing his best to kind of self-contain it as much as possible. Well, then I guess that is a very boring introduction. You were dismissed. He'll just kind of cut you off and just kind of wave his hand, you know, shushing you away. Very, very... From the little interactions you've had with the, you know, the elite, those, you know, the people of this status, I mean, this is par for the course, right? You know, so
Yeah.
cutting you off, shushing you, and just kind of throwing their hand in your direction, like, you know, leave me, is not unfamiliar.
Yeah. Well, I annoyedly leave after, you know, he's wasted my entire day.
Yeah, you get up and you start to make your way to the door. Fair enough. All right. So. Okay, so. Yeah, we should resolve this and then we'll okay. So. Continuing to travel, you get to the point where as you continue to climb, the density of the crowd becomes, you know, less and less. And I'm going to say you're not very far from your employer's whereabouts by the time Keel. You maybe in a moment of paranoia, right? You know, or vigilance at the least. You're walking with Lucky.
Yeah,
and-
once I get through the crowds.
Yeah, once you get to the crowds, and I would assume as much that Esther continues to follow. Yeah,
Of course.
this theme of your past kind of coming back, you know, to bite you. Keel, you see Esther doing quite a great job at tailing you, and you know, it kind of occurs to you in that moment, like, probably been following me for a long
Yeah, you
time.
just
What the
like-
fuck? Yeah. So
Yeah, I think he's just completely confused by this whole situation and like thinks he's going mad. And you know, Lucky will see him just like close his eyes for like a solid 10 seconds.
So as his eyes closed,
And
I'll take the
reopen them.
moment to dash towards him.
rushing forward.
Yep.
So he opens his eyes and he starts running towards him like he's standing there.
Yeah, my eyebrow just kind of raises.
Yeah,
I've never
Keel
seen something like this with Keel.
Keel doesn't move. He's just like what? Completely still.
So okay, so a few meters before him, it's like she's pulling the brakes, you know, comes to a full stop as to not actually crash into him. And she like looks straight into him with eyes wide open. It's like, excuse me, are you Mr. Keel? And she kind of looks at you like in anticipation.
Is she speaking to could you say?
And no, she's speaking to you.
Yeah, I know I meant the language, but
Yes, in
Yeah.
Duganese.
yeah. There's a pause and then he'll kind of like just like puts his hand on her shoulders and like we are moving into the nearest alleyway as fast as possible.
I'm following.
Yeah.
All right.
The three of you dash into
Yeah.
a quick side.
Just like a
alley.
corner. And
Yeah.
he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Oh,
Hello.
pardon me.
Keel like looks over at Lucky as Esther starts to speak and like looks back and is like,
Well, I didn't mean to offend you by saying hello. I suppose.
"Why are you here?"
I'm just traveling across the lands and I see you suddenly. I thought I would follow.
That's not how this works.
I was just gonna like raise
You've
an
been
eyebrow.
following me.
Yes. Well, anyway, it is lovely to see you again. I'm so happy, and I hope you are happy too. And she's just gonna smile wildly.
He just kind of stands there and just goes, "Okay."
So is this your friend?
One.
Yes. Maybe we can go to the bakery and eat something together. Yes. I mean, I'm free all day. Yes. And
He
she's like
turns
gonna.
around. Yeah, he turns around and starts talking to himself, like, okay, one thing at a time.
As he turns
like
around,
pacing.
yeah, I go over to shake her hand, and I start going into my spiel again, and I expect Keel to translate.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But like, she doesn't understand me, I'm assuming. I don't know if she speaks Lucian, but
She doesn't, but still, she would like nod along with a wide smile,
Yeah.
like it would almost seem as though she could.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So excited by it. Actually, yeah, you get the sense like that that actually they understand you. Esther understands you. Like that's how well
Okay,
they're
so
playing.
I
into,
don't ask for Keel to translate then.
Yeah. So you just talk it all the way through, and Esther, you're just kind of nodding along, right? Like you understand every word.
So polite.
And Keel finally turns around and just like, for the first time ever, putting his hand on Lucky and just like puts both of their hands like just above their collarbone and like separates them. No, we're not talking.
Oh, it's forbidden to talk to him.
You. He keeps like switching between languages here. You're going to stay right here and not move. To Esther.
As you're explaining this, one of the lackeys of Darius, right? The simple servant, the ones that would typically be pushed into, going, or not pushed, be commanded into going to fetch Laki, right? One of these individuals actually kind of walks by and like turns and looks and sees, recognizing both Laki and Keel, and kind of like quickly calls out. I guess because your station is a bit higher than any normal kind of servant, I think they would address as like Sir Damian. This simple lowly kind of servant kind of like they're excited to see you, like they've been in a rush, will kind of come quickly down the side alley and approach you, Sir Damian, Darius seeks your audience now, right now.
Great. Okay. You stay here, Esther. You don't talk, Lucky and Lucky Terrace. Let's just go. And he just turns and starts following this servant.
Fair enough.
Hoping that they follow instructions. We'll see if they do.
Absolutely. Well, actually, you head off first. Kind of making your way back. Lucky, you follow right in behind, back with Keel. You know enough Krasni to understand like the now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I'll just give like a noble bow to Esther, and then I'll follow.
fair enough. Okay. So Keel, quick, wanting to quickly return. You lead the way with Lucky behind. The servant actually kind of stayed as you just kind of walk past and made your way with Lucky. I'm gonna say the servant kind of motions for Esther to go as well, like to follow as well.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah. And he will be like in the back, not leading you directly per se, but keeping kind of pace, and on occasion kind of extending their hand to kind of show you like, oh, like this way, right? Because Kyo and Lucky are moving probably at a bit faster pace up ahead, right? They go around corners that you might not. It might take you a second before you catch up and kind of see like what direction they may be heading. And so, following in hot pursuit.
He'll probably look behind him at some point and see Esther following and just
Yeah, you'll see the
swearing
serpent.
into
Yeah.
Canadians under his breath and just
Yeah.
one problem at a time.
Yeah, I'm gonna yell out to Kiel. Wow, this is so luxurious. Is he from the bakery? Maybe he's for us? Is he coming for us?
Yeah. So, as you continue to travel along, all these moments kind of coming at Keel, right? We return. So, as you finish playing, there is not a roaring applause, but the very respectful kind of from the crowded tavern. There's very much like a restrained, probably because they can't, if they were to get raucous, if they were to get loud, something might disturb this moment of peace that they are able to have in the tavern. But there's this respectful kind of constrained applause amongst these individuals in the tavern that all have watched you play, Avis. And even from the back, in the kind of gloomier, well-shadowed portion, there's just like this single, much louder than the others, setting themselves apart from the crowd, heavy claps, that ring out.
Is it the person who was reluctant to talk to me earlier?
Yes.
Let's go say hello.
You approach. Yeah, and this kind of display is a bit bold, right? Especially for you, right? Everybody else is kind of, everybody else is doing like golf claps, right? Just the soft patter, but this is like a full on, clap. As you approach, the figure will stand up. They'll pull back the cowl, right? The hood of cloak that they're wearing. They're wearing servant clothes, but certainly much like they serve somebody of some importance. And they pull back their cloak, and for the first time, I mean, it's been a couple of years, and they've grown in that time. But you are face to face with them. And they,
Gone.
they look at you, and they've got this kind of stern expression. And the others that are seated at the table will kind of quickly get up with like a quick, maybe like a snap of the thumbs, right? This is kind of like a circular booth. They'll all kind of quickly slide out and make space, and actually they'll kind of stand around almost like they're guards at the ready, but not aggressive towards you in this moment. But Theron will kind of just with his hand kind of point towards a seat.
I think Avis is going to ignore him.
Mm-hmm.
Just step into the small crowd of people pulls Sarum into a hug. It's been so long. Where's your brother?
He, as you're kind of hugging, he doesn't grasp you back, right? His hand, his left, we'll say like his left arm, pointing towards like the have a seat, kind of stays out in that way, and the right arm kind of starts to, like, I mean, you're aware of it at the very least. You kind of see it start to kind of creep around, like they're almost going to embrace you back, but instead they use their hand to kind of pry some space between you and them, like, pushing through his chest, kind of like, putting his arm in between you and them, and kind of, gives you a bit of a buffer with his right arm, just kind of pushing you back.
What's wrong?
Kind of looks at you. He's he's shocked in this moment by your actions. Maybe that's not entirely apparent on his face though. Instead, it's kind of like he's lost for words. He, at mention of, where's your brother, right? And what's wrong, right? Kind of piercing, what's wrong for him. I mean, a lot, but he hides it well enough to kind of just reservedly just, it seems you are unaware of a number of things, Avis.
I've been gone for a while.
Yeah. I think it best if we sit down. He's got a very serious kind of demeanor to him now. You can see that the wheels are kind of turning in his mind, but there's like a bit of confusion to him as well. Like, I'm going to say, without having to make any kind of check, that you can tell that he is a person put off guard, right? Like he probably had expectation, or assumed that this was going to go one way, and it's kind of gone 180 for them in this moment. And he would just kind of collapse into the booth, kind of sitting down.
Yeah, the light kind of drains from Avis's face. She was smiling. She was very glad to see him, and now she's still glad, but mostly confused, I think. She takes a seat. What did I miss?
He kind of sighs. Where have you been?
Bud.
Kind of avoiding the question. Right?
Theron, Bud. Answer my question.
You
You
answer
show up
mine.
here. What are you doing here?
Was not expecting to see you. And kind of looks at you. He's trying to figure something out. Like, he's like, you can see he's paying close attention to your expression, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing if you're lying, or what is this act that you're putting on in his point of view. But he again ignores, like, the press for what's going on, right? This question. Avis, where have you been?
Outside the city for a while. Back in the city for also a while. Listen, since we paid Darius, it's been a long time.
When you mention, paying, his eyes kind of squint in your direction, like he's discerning and
There's a
paid
reason
Darius.
you. Go on.
Well, yeah, that's all you asked. Paid Darius?
Yes. I'm free. Didn't Dasher tell you?
Kind of turns his head at mention, right? Kind of looks away. You, now for the first time, having been able to kind of see him for a bit, you see that he wears we'll say the captain of the guard, right? The mercenary guard, has a particular kind of pendant that they wear, on the cloak. And it's the first time you notice that Therum is wearing what his brother usually wears.
I think her expression darkens for a moment, then turns hopeful again. Darkens again. Don't tell me he sold him.
He kind of chuckles to himself, and he bites his bottom lip, right? Like something
Therum.
like that.
Sarum, why are you here?
We'd gotten word of a musician of sorts singing songs that those who control us don't allow us to sing. And I come here and I find that it is you. And you can see he's kind of wrestling with something. Why are you here?
I mean, I have to make a living somehow. Now that I'm no longer supported by Darius of all people. After all, I plan to come back for you. For your brother.
Really? Is that what you planned?
Yes.
He's getting a bit aggressive now, right? His posture is kind of changing a little bit. The way he's speaking is a little bit, a bit sharper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like your words here have kind of upset him quite a bit. Tell me, Avis, you really thought that you could sneak away and then return like nothing happened? You really thought that that was going to just happen like that? After everything you've done, you return.
No, but
He kind of he laughs, and it's like you've done the most insane thing in his mind, right? Like you return, right?
you misunderstand. I don't plan to return. I plan to come back for you. There's a difference there, and you should know it.
Mm. You know what happens to runaways?
I didn't run away.
We shall see. He stands up quickly and will draw his weapon. And the others that are with him will also draw their weapons. You have 5 individuals now, kind of each of them, many of them, quite well armored. I think Darius will be the one to clarify this situation. I mean, you run away, you come back, you'll be hung, you'll be everything you deserve is waiting for you. Now, come with some honor at the very least. Not in the way that you ran, but the way you abandoned my brother, left him to his fate. No.
Abandoned him? What do you mean?
Easy.
Arvis is-
Yeah, easy or hard. It's kind of like just, and he holds the weapon to really show you that this threat is not light.
Arvis is gonna cross her arms, get up, and follow. There's no reason to fight here. Sarah and Mo are friends. We grew up together. What is this?
As you ask, like, what is this? He just kind of snaps his fingers, and before you know it, there is something covering your face. A sack of sorts maybe thrown over your head, and you are quickly restrained. And for now, we'll come back to it. So, this is a violent encounter, I should say, right? Keel. Lucky. Am I saying? I just want to be clear because you've said lucky a few times. So is it lucky or is it Locky?
Yeah, I mean the way I.
All right, lucky. All right, all right, lucky. So Keel, Lucky, Esther, and the servant of Darius. Yeah, you're right there. You're walking down the hallway, and for a moment, this brief smell of kind of smoke in the air, tobacco, kind of hits you, Keel, as you kind of make your way through. And the servant from behind will say, just head right in, it's very important.
And Keel will just, open the door.
Yeah, kind of quickly open the door and make your way inside. If you could, Obi, please, make a reflex save here really quick. Is it 26? Oh, no, sorry. 24. Yeah, if you, in this moment, if you hadn't have been as sharp as you were, maybe upset as you start to make your way out, your senses might not have been heightened. As the door swings open, I mean, you are able to kind of stop and just quickly, take one quick step back that just narrowly avoids you having been, just face planted into this opening door. And so as you kind of stop yourself and kind of, push yourself back, in walks in this familiar, at least for the moment, who had in passing, you'd seen the Strix, the wings, right? Keel, Lucky, and as you make your way inside, you see this dwarf, a bit taller than most dwarves, but still dwarf at the very least. Narrowly avoid getting kind of smashed in the face with this door. As you make your way inside, maybe there's like a pause in this moment, like, as you've almost had this kind of unfortunate interaction, and
Keel
then
just brushes past him.
yeah, brush right past. Fair enough. The servant leading Esther will get to the door and just kind of like motion for Esther to make her way into the office.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you have a chance to close, before you have a chance to leave, right, the servant will kind of quickly kind of reach in and kind of close the door. And so you're like, you were making your exit, but now you're kind of like stuck in this kind of strange situation, as the door's kind of been shut in front of you. Keel, you walk in, Lucky behind, so you're kind of standing right there, right by the door, maybe, and Darius will kind of speak up. Finally, took you long enough.
Lucky Terrace, as you requested.
Yes. He kind of brightens up, and looks at you and speaks to you, as if you should understand every word he's about to say. Lucky. Yes. I'm in desperate need of your counsel. So many strange happenings as of late. I am glad you have come on such short notice. I hope I did not take you away from the many clients I'm sure you are providing service to down there. And kind of, speaks almost like disgusted with the slums.
I assume Keel is just going to be like translating all of this.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, "Oh, my lord, of course, I'm always at your beck and call."
He will kind of quickly set the table. Normal, I need some counsel. And he kind of looks around and he notices this new figure in Esther. Who is this? But he takes an interest, right? It's not like an aggressive who is this. It's like who's this? As Darius kind of leans back in his chair and starts to kind of push himself to standing.
He kind of speaks before her. An acquaintance. We ran into her on the way here. Your servant had brought her along with us.
Right. Kind of crosses the room towards the door.
I'd
Completely
be happy to
ignoring-
send her out.
No. The more the merrier, right? Lucky. The more people you have to draw energy from, the better your readings are, correct?
Of course, yes, that is how it works.
Just kind of brushes Keel's, I can take her out, like this concern. Join us. And this you don't understand a word, Esther, but this guy reaches out and kind of, like puts his hand on your back and kind of starts to motion you towards this large kind of circular table.
I'll be doing the same as I did with Lucky, as I'm, smiling and nodding, and this is like really amazing. And I'll try to put some flowers on this table.
Fair
Just
enough.
a little variety.
Gil's hand covers his mouth slightly.
Yeah.
Just as he turns slightly away from this whole situation. Fuck.
The kind of domineering attitude returns to Darius, and he kind of calls out, and you, bald one, come sit down. We have need of you.
What?
Yeah, this kind of whiplash of get the fuck out now, stay, get back over here, right?
Yeah, my body language is very obviously what the fuck.
Yeah. Quickly, it's
fine. Begrudgingly make my way over.
And he'll kind of Darius will kind of call out, or rather kind of start to talk to Lucky. This bald one here, and you understand everything, Obi, even though it has to get translated, but you understand everything. This bald one here had an encounter of sorts with the strange and powerful, and I think his energy will be in good addition to your reading this evening.
If that's the case, then I should measure him out as well.
Measure?
I'll position him. I'll go and grab him over and position him next to Darius, and I'll begin to take out my tools.
As Keel is translating all of this, he's doing it in a semi gritted teeth kind of.
Yeah.
Not his usual professionalism. hard to keep a straight face here.
Don't be so uptight, Keel. We have guests, we have company. You know how to act in front of company. And it's kind of like a reference to the information about your past. Right?
My apologies.
I guess you'll join us too. Take a seat and just kind of motions towards sitting somewhere. For this, it's almost, I guess, you know, Lucky, if you could, like, describe, is this like almost like a pseudo seance of sorts? Like, is this, what kind of situation is this?
Yeah, I guess it would depend on what he's expecting. But I'm kind of working on my feet here because
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what the fuck he's talking about with this energy bullshit.
Yeah.
So I'm like kind of arranging everyone now a bit sporadically apart, so that I can measure their shadows. And so I have like this this ruler and a scale, and I just kind of separate them so that their shadows are at like different angles. And I just measure them out, and then I make note on the scale of the numbers where it's at. And as that's happening, I have this book that I reference, which it's not in any language I read, but I begin to reference it and start seeing what the numbers mean.
Right. It's funny because he's not really paying attention to the measurement part. Darius is just interested in, you know, what you can see. Like the many meetings you've had with him have been like, you know, like what of this fortune, you know, and it's kind of gone. There's been times where you've had to I'll say like the broad responses, I've kind of worn their welcome out. Yeah. So he's now asking you to like directly answer, like, will this deal, you know, be good for me? Like, you know, will this be a positive to wealth? Like, and asking for completely like solid answers. He doesn't want like, you know, he doesn't want it to be like astrology or whatever, you know. It's like, he wants like the real, you know, give me like a real answer. And so he's kind of been pushing on that as of recent. So yeah, it's been a bit, we'll say over the last couple times where you've had to give like solid answers. Maybe that kind of plays into the role of, or into the interaction that you've had with Keel, because, you know, certainly a person of the status would have asked, like, is this a deal that I should get myself involved in, right? Like, they're gonna ask questions like that, and you probably had to answer it, you know, solidly, and it probably worked against what Keel is hoping to accomplish. You know, the more deals, the better. So, kind of as like a translator, and it's like a so as you're taking the shadow and, you know, all the measurements that you use to do what it is that you do, but how's this going? Or sorry, Esther.
I would love to do, despite not understanding him, right, it seems like this man is switching between a lot of emotions in the way he's talking to people and interacting with them.
Yeah.
Could I do like a perception or something similar to get like a read as to how, if he's like stressed or nervous, if this is like weighing down on him, everything, like he's under a lot of pressure or something?
Yeah. I don't think you have to make a check for that. I think it's quite yeah, it's a bit obvious. There's probably like a range of emotions, like the way he spoke specifically towards the bald one, Obi. Definitely like a bit of disdain there, you know, like very sharp. And even with Keel, probably a little bit along those lines, although definitely much less than Obi. But there's this, you know, fascination in the way he speaks whenever he's talking to Lucky. and he's now that this is kind of becoming about this, this reading, of sorts. He's back into like this, fascinated kind of expression, fully interested and invested in, what Lucky appears to be doing.
Right, so she would reach into her basket to retrieve a very small vial of a difficult to see potion, and she would just hold it in her hand for now while continuing to listen and smile and nod along.
Fair enough. Okay. So you finish up your measurements, right? You've done everything you need to do to kind of to finish out this first portion of the reading, Lucky. So as everybody is seated at the round table, sitting in the the main chair is Darius, and he we can begin then.
Yes, of course. Everything has been measured, and things seem to be flowing well. So I believe we can begin.
This one is a good one, right? He kind of points towards Obi.
Feels favorable.
Feels or is?
Well, we'll be able to see after the reading.
He's dissatisfied with the answer, but he kind of sways you along. Right. Begin your magic then.
All right. So, as I kind of get into the center of them, I realize he wants a bit more spectacle this time. So I get into the center, and my shadow begins to rotate around me as I'm reading these texts, and I kind of just say words in Losian, like bat, elephant, chair, things that he wouldn't understand, but I just start to say things, and eventually my shadow stops facing this dwarf, and I say to Darius, again, with Keel's translations, "Oh, it is most favorable indeed, but there are certain steps you need to take in order to cement the deal, as it were. First, you need to stand firm and stay true to your thoughts and beliefs. You need to mark this first acquaintance with whatever prospective party this is, with a Ducanese rose. Make sure that's on your person at all time. And don't do this before midday. And everything will turn out favorably."
So as you're kind of going about this reading, this of sorts, the fortune of Darius, right? Kind of in your hand, going through the steps, and as you do so, I mean, Darius kind of brightens up, gives a look over to Obi, right? And even like in the middle of this, kind of reaches out and kind of puts his hand and kind of shakes you like excitedly, Obi. Like you're the the catalyst for great things. This complete like 180 after 180, right? First waste of time, get out of here. Next, come back, we need you, and now this like genuine like excitement to see you and happiness. It's very bipolar. Especially in the short span of time that's kind of been going on in. And he looks to Lucky. One more thing. I've felt that there is this energy, this bit of strange tidings weighing over me. Maybe involving my past or something. What does your magic tell you in those regards? How do I fare? What prophecy do you have for me?
Well, I'll kind of close my eyes to think for a moment and just, make it seem like I'm trying to channel something.
Okay. As you do so, make me a will save.
Will save.
Oh my god, dude. The dice tell the story, dude.
Oh,
I'm fucking
dear.
telling you. Jeez. Okay. As well, I don't know. I want to remind you, you have a saving throw here. You have a hero point here.
Oh yeah.
That's your choice if you go with it. I want to be thorough in that it is available to you.
Yeah, I'll use it. Why not?
Fair enough.
All right. Mark that.
If you right click it, you can hit re-roll with a hero point.
Yeah.
What am I right clicking?
The
save on the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, reroll using hero point. Okay. It's a bit
All right.
better.
It's better. As you kind of as you start to, I mean, for you, it's without getting too obvious about it. For you, this is almost like a trick. You have full control over your shadow, right? Like this is something very that you're able to do. This is a very well done bit of however you want to call it. So as you try to kind of give the performance of that you're trying to like reach in further, kind of grasp at more information, and it's a bit difficult for you, right? Like you're pretending as if it's very difficult for you, right? To kind of reach this place of boundless information. And as you kind of put on this show, something feels very weird. Maybe one of these like moments you kind of close your eyes and kind of grip up at your like temple, like you're trying to pull from information that's difficult for you to assess. But when you open your eyes, the room that you're in is bare. Everybody is gone. The people, that were all just moment ago before you closed your eyes they're gone. There's no table. There's no furniture in this room. There's no light in this room, I should say. The only thing you feel is the wind. This chill of wind blast at your back from the open, kind of like a, what do you want to call it? Alcove? I don't know what you want to call it. What are the fucking things? Terrace, I guess? Yeah.
So it's the same room, but there's no light and everyone is gone.
Yeah. And all you feel is this chill wind kind of strike at your back as the terrace doors kind of open. Not violently, but, swing open. And this is not a wind that you've felt in, a long time, if ever.
Yeah, I'll kind of look around really quickly, obviously very confused, and I'm gonna check out the terrace towards the wind.
As you turn and look, there's a single figure standing there.
God.
Yeah, they have their back turned towards you. They're tall, they're lean. They're wearing a heavy kind of cloak that, very much kind of drowns their form. So, getting, other than the height and the thinness, you've not seen a person like this before. But as you turn and see them looking away from you, their arm, this extended, not, it's almost like in between, like the uncanny valley portion, right, or of like where this arm extends out. It feels like this arm is a bit longer than it should be for the torso, or this figure that you see. But it kind of opens its arms, much in a way of like greeting somebody from their, like drawing you forward, like, come here.
I'm going to wrap my cape around my arm, just to kind of like get a sort of like defensive stance ready with it. And I go towards it, but like with a wide berth, kind of like trying to get to the other side of it. This figure.
Yeah, and they're standing right at the like the terrace, I guess like the edge, right? Looking down out about the looking down at the city and the harbor, and the darkness that kind of spreads around and the light. They kind of stand there. You give a wide berth, right? But you kind of approach. You have to approach the edge, right? So that's probably like another part of Lucky's kind of like a bit of what do you want to call it? Like a hesitation with approaching. I mean, is Lucky a huge fan of heights? And getting so close to an edge with a figure of this size, that probably kind of plays a part as well, other than this strange moment that you're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
But
and so what, they're like pointing down or something?
No. They're just kind of looking. So when you finally kind of get to that portion where you yourself are almost having to kind of press your body up against the maybe not press, but like get close enough where you can kind of grip the railing. You have to kind of get to that portion to get a real clear view of this person.
I would do it.
Yeah, as they stand there, and as you kind of get close enough, they're not looking at you. They're looking like they're just kind of staring out into the darkness, kind of spread around, and down into the city itself. And one thing that you see immediately, the city is not lit up in the way that it typically would be. Even despite the shading, there are, in the evening, there's a lot of light from the top to the very bottom. You see that the city itself is just completely dark. Like everybody is gone almost. But this figure, as they look out, they're pale. You see the ear is lifted up into a point. For you, if Lucky's ever had any interactions, would be like an elf of sorts. And they're kind of gaunt in the face. They're very tall, like when I say tall and lean, I mean, I really mean like 9-10 feet tall. Like, I mean, they're like big, but they're very thin. And I look to you. and they will lean in and how you understand this. As they speak, the very words that they use seem to have like a magical effect, and you feel it almost like loud bass at a concert vibrating your very being as they speak in your direction, like this, almost like what the words that they're saying are loud, but there's no pain associated with it as these words hit you. And the words that they're using are unintelligible to the sound, but you feel like you are being, you feel like you intuitively know what they're saying. And they will tell you, let me get this quote correct. You must warn them that fire approaches. And with it, their end. And he finishes, it's hard to, sorry, I say he, but I should say they, because it's not quite clear exactly if they're male or female. Let me see, they end it with, I knew I wrote it down, but they end it with Sharam's return is at hand. And that is it. As in that moment, as they finish, like Sharam's return is at hand, you see the features of this elf-like being, this huge, tall, thin, beyond thin, ignite like fire itself, spreading out from the face, the skin, kind of erupting and completely cloaking them in fire. And as that happens, you snap back. You return. You are standing in this room with these people who are all looking at you in like complete disbelief. And as you stand there, you have wisps of smoke coming off of your clothes. You have been blasted with heat, and it is just manifesting itself openly. And what those inside have heard, Keel, Obadiah, Esther, and Darius, of course, you have spoken this same prophecy out loud to them. And I'm going to say that the effect that I told you about with the bass, and just not understanding it to the ear, but intuitively understanding what you're being told, all of you feel that kind of wash over you as Lucky for the moment is like this conduit of prophecy that waves over, and there's this dead silence from Darius, who just kind of looks completely and utterly stunned. So, as you're thrust back into this moment, Lucky, you feel the fire on your skin. Like, you feel like you've just been, like, almost like immediate sunburn, right? Like this intense heat, still kind of emanating off of your skin as you're kind of thrust back into this moment. Seeing this creature emblazon itself in fire, and now suddenly you're thrust back, standing there like in the middle of your show, and you've got these wisps of smoke kind of just floating off of you, and the crowd is essentially stunned as they stare at you.
Yeah, I guess I kind of freak out a little bit, and then try and recover as I am aware of my surrounding once again, and obviously I'm trying to save face in front of Darius. So yeah, I don't know how well me trying to play it cool goes over, but that's what I try and do.
Would you like to roll for it? Say you can say performance, you can say deception, whichever you please in this moment, right?
Go deception.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, you're very obviously rocked, right? By the event, by the situation, and you try to like, of course that was supposed to happen, right? Like you kind of just try to play this off, but you are completely rattled, and it is obvious to any of these people sitting. And as you're just kind of like attempting to play it off, there's a slam at the door as it is thrown open, with a quick kind of bang as the door opens wide and smacks into the wall, and thrown into the room is this figure with a almost like a sack thrown over their head. Right, they've got a number of gear kind of potentially on them, but Avis, you are thrown. You've had this this kind of like mask kind of thrown over your head, and you've had a number of individuals all just kind of roughly kind of pulling you away and carrying you along, right, not allowing you to escape, and despite whatever fighting you may have had, kind of like as much as you've tried to kind of resist, there's just too many of them, right? They've got you at a point, so they've just carried you up, and now you feel yourself kind of weightless for a moment as you are thrown, and then you slam against the ground. And yeah, the rest of you see this figure thrown into the room. Kind of haphazardly, and this figure walks in. That you don't know yet, but Therum walks in, and you hear the voice of Avis. Sir, you'll never believe who I have caught. And kind of like, realize that something really weird has just happened in this moment. And kind of stops and is unsure of what to do next. Avis, what are you doing as you've been thrown, landing roughly, right, kind of against the ground, but you now have full use of all your limbs?
I was just gonna scramble back to her feet, and I think it's worth mentioning that she isn't short, right? She's more than 6 feet tall. She's probably towering over even Darius on us with a chair.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Rips the bag off of her head and throws it back at Theron. Takes a look around the room and at the very strange amalgamation of people. And Darius asked, Darius.
Yeah, Darius is kind of shocked seeing you, like, what the fuck? And you can tell, I mean, as you stand in the room, like, you smell like the smoke, and you see this pale-skinned, grayish figure. You see you see Lucky, you see Keel, you see Obadiah and Esther all kind of sitting at the table, each of them all just like, what the fuck? And yeah, as you're kind of explaining, right, Darius just kind of turns and kind of like looks at you, and even he is like unsure that what he is seeing right now is real. And as Darius kind of takes this information in, Theron will kind of chime up, like, I've found the betrayer, the traitor, I found Avis, the runaway.
Oh, will you shut up?
Yeah.
Explain, Darius. Explain it to him. He won't listen to me.
he's like somebody who's been told, like he's just in shock. So he just kind of gets up and he kind of crosses the room over to his desk, and on his desk, sitting on his desk, is his pipe, and he'll just kind of grab at it. And he's not looking at anybody in particular. His eyes are just kind of, in whatever direction they're going. He'll kind of grip at the pipe, and his voice is wavering. He's just, Avis is free. She bought her freedom with the gold that your brother stole and why he was killed. Just kind of says it flatly, like it doesn't matter, and just kind of waves Therum away. So I guess at this moment, takes a second.
It takes Avis a second to understand what is going on, and I think her mind goes straight to cope through distraction. I think her eyes kind of wander through the room, land on Lucky, who stands singed in the middle of it. I don't think she's quite realized yet.
Yeah. And Therum is like in shock as well. Like, and then it kind of breaks, and he goes, "I'm sorry for the intrusion." Then, and he will just quickly turn and make leave. Therum quickly walking away. The door to this office is kind of still wide open. All the figures inside of the room are a bit shell-shocked by the sudden drop of information and experience that they've all kind of had collectively. And Avis, he didn't experience it necessarily, but I mean, you see it hanging on these people like a dark cloud. And as you kind of distract yourself, everybody's I guess everybody's quiet in this moment. Does anybody want to do anything before?
Keel is all of his attention is on Lucky.
Yeah.
Like, not an angry kind of glare, but in like a very much like, what did you do? Who are you? Kind of just long stare.
What happened here?
Yeah, there's a sense of quiet, right? Darius is still kind of lost in thought. He's taking long pulls from the tobacco. It's almost like he doesn't even realize like that you're here, Avis. Like, I mean, he said it, like he responded, but as he kind of looks, he go ahead, Esther.
So not really understanding too many of the words and trying to loosen from her kind of tense mood. I would hand this little vial I had in my hand, which from the exterior looks like a drop of frozen dew or something. It's quite unusual shape. I would hand it to him, gesturing to drink it with like a wide smile and kind of nodding affirmatively.
To who? Sorry, Lucky?
To the
Darius?
Darius.
Okay. Yeah, he'll kind of take it and kind of like look at it and kind of a bit of a confused look on his face, but he'll drink it back. What is he expecting to feel?
So it's a version of shared memories, and what Esther's thought of while making it was a scene where she was just laying in a forest, looking at a flower field, with all these different aromas, taking up the entire air around her, It's a piece of just a scene of just peace and tranquility, with a few red deer drinking at a lake right next to her, who also don't really seem disturbed. And she could feel like the flowers, the soft wetness of the grass, and all of that. It's just a minute of that in total peace and quiet for him, because he seemed very, very stressed at first. And without any further word, she would just nod to him and take a step back.
Yeah, and again, this is not the kind of person that should be doing what he's doing. But I mean, he's so in shock that he just takes the vial and just kind of drinks it back without even thinking about like what could this be, who you are, or any of these questions, because he's kind of so caught up in this strange moment. Q.
Yeah, I think at this point, after this scene kind of plays out, Keel would, stand and take a few quick steps towards Lucky, and kind of not slamming, but a hard kind of hand on the table next to him, leaning in, and is like in Lucky's tongue. I've played along with whatever you've been doing with Darius, but what are you doing?
What I'm hired to do. As Keel kind of like snaps me awake, I guess, I'll regain my composure, kind of give him a side eye, and start speaking to Darius.
Keel doesn't move. He's
Yeah.
still just leaning in.
Yeah.
Like,
Go ahead.
no, that's it.
Okay. Darius is kind of taking back the tincture, right? The drink, and there's like a wave of like, like a relief, I guess. And as you kind of step forward, like he kind of just brushes you off for the moment. And from behind, Darius will kind of call out Avis. Avis, yeah. It's a pleasant surprise to see you again. And his words have this like maybe like intoxicated effect to them, right? Like maybe the tincture has done so much, such a whiplash of feeling from like utter shock to like that peaceful kind of blissful moment. That yeah, it almost comes across like he's inebriated only slightly. And yeah, Darius kind of calls out to you, Avis. Sorry, didn't even realize it was you. How have you been?
Before or after you had me kidnapped?
No, that's not of my making. I think Therum had the wrong idea about something. It's quite interesting to see you. What are you doing back in Krasni?
I think his whole demeanor is so out of character for him.
Yeah, the tincture did a
That's
fucking
yeah.
thing to him. Yeah.
Alice is just narrowing her eyes at him, then glancing over at Esther in this "how did any of this happen" kind of motion.
She would just, as she has been doing with every interaction so far, smile very politely and nod to you.
Alice kind of returns your smile, and it seems genuine enough before she looks back at Darius, and her entire demeanor chills right back down. Krasni is Krasni. It hasn't changed.
You have your freedom.
True.
Looking for work?
I suppose I am.
Right. There may have an issue with it, but does not matter what he thinks.
About that.
Kind of looks at you. Raises an eyebrow.
About both of them. Name your price.
Both.
Yes.
Theremin, who else?
Asha.
Kind of thinks. It's this answer kind of clashes with the peaceful bliss that he's feeling, so he kind of brings him back down to earth a little bit, right? Usher's gone. Your life
But
or
I think-
his?
Yeah, I think this is where Sarum's words catch up with her, and she stumps a little bit. What do you mean he's gone?
You know he's gone. Your freedom purchased. He stole. It's fine. You live now. Therum, he is my captain. I'm not sure I have a price for him just yet, but maybe you can work it off.
Make one.
Now looks around. Kind of eyes up the group in attendance, right? Kind of like he's back, right? You know, the wheels are kind of turning again, right? He's Darish again. He's no longer, you know, peaceful bliss. Like he's out of the panic and the he's out of that state, but he's right back into himself. And so he will just kind of openly speak to the crowd like there's much work to do. And with that, I think it's a good place to pause unless anybody has anything they want to like really just kind of press in real quick. I think it's a good spot to pause our story up next time.
Mm-hmm.
Good grief.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess I guess we'll pause here and we'll pick up as we are. You know, everything still continuing on. This time, you know, after the revelation that has been given. So, thank you all for playing. Hope you enjoyed intro into this what I hope to be is a fine campaign moving forward. We'll see. Yeah, thank you all. I'm gonna go ahead and sign out on the stream and stuff, but I'll be back in just 1 second, and then okay. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked this, if you like to get involved, the place to be is in the Discord. As you know, whenever I'm reaching out for campaigns or getting people involved, I like to lead. You know, that's where I reach out first. You know, so if you're in the Discord, you got the best chance at getting a foot in the door, so to speak. This Monday and this Saturday campaign just started, so it's gonna be a bit before we're recruiting for something else. Maybe we'll have a Wednesday game starting here shortly. But we do have another game starting, kind of like a political, you know, intrigue type game, you know, grander scale. In any case, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a good day or a good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Next stream will be on Monday as we return with our Monday campaign, which is called, Monday campaign, Bitter Grudges. Sorry. So, thank you all. Hope you have a good one. Maybe we'll see you next time. If not, we'll see you when we see you.